welcome to episode 2 of the Digitally Native podcast vlog. My name is Fungai Machirori, and today we're having an exciting conversation about inclusion and representation in the digital space. Now, I'm sure many of you will know that earlier in this month was the coronation of King Charles. I think it's King Charles III, after obviously the death of the Queen late last year. And so I always go on TikTok to kind of see what people are talking about. I didn't watch the coronation live. I didn't know what happened. And so I came across a user who had a very interesting caption to their video. And it said, something like, "You'll never believe what happened at the coronation." And I thought, oh dear, did something happen? Did the crown fall or something? And so I started watching this video. And obviously there's the archbishop or whoever it is who puts the crown on King Charles's head. And then something very interesting happens. The song Calm Down, the Nigerian song, comes on. And the whole congregation in this coronation starts singing this song. And, it's a call and response, like there's the chorus and then there's these bits and all of that. And I found that so hilarious. And so as I thought about that, I thought a little bit more about what it is that has made Africans so interested in the royal family. I think we saw it as well with commentary after the Queen's death late last year. People were very involved and engaged. And I think it has a lot to do with the entry of someone who in certain ways represented people who felt they'd never have that representation in the royal family. And I mean, in that regard, Meghan Markle. We know that she has a biracial background and, she represented a lot of different interest groups of people who didn't see themselves normally represented within the royal family. And so I remember watching the wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle about 2018. And when they come outside of the church, there were these African aunties who were ululating. And that was just it was a bit of a trip to see African aunties ululating at a royal wedding. So it's almost like people felt included in a space they hadn't normally felt included within because there was someone who represented them in certain ways. And we saw that as well in 2019, or was it 2020, just before the pandemic hit, when Meghan Markle and Prince Harry stepped down from their official roles within the royal family. There is an amazing content creator, Wendy Gumede. She's the Black Wendy on Twitter, who does these really interesting skits where she puts overlays of Xhosa language into conversations that normally wouldn't happen, obviously, the way that she puts them out as happening. And one of those skits, or a couple of them actually, I think she did quite a few of those skits. One of those skits is Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, and they're talking to Beyonce and Jay-Z. And they're all having this interesting conversation in Xhosa about, the bland food that Meghan is eating and what it's like to be in the royal family and all of that. There's another skit where they talk about their exit from the royal family and, Meghan is explaining things to Beyonce. And it's, it's this conversation like people would talk to each other, as Xhosa speaking natives. And so it's also this really interesting dynamic where, again, there is this insertion of a language or a culture or a frame of reference that would not normally sit within the royal family. And I think it's really interesting to start thinking about what that looks like and means for people in terms of the broader conversation about inclusion within digital spaces. We know that AI has recently been receiving a lot of feedback, negative feedback. It's kind of come from nowhere and it's threatening everyone's sense of stability, jobs. It's, the ethical challenges around it and all of the regulation issues that we still don't yet know about how to go about AI. But I think when we look at it from a more social perspective, you start to see as well the same kind of thread of people feeling like they're more included in spaces and conversations that they normally might not be. And so for an example that I also came across on TikTok, I spend a lot of time looking on TikTok because there's always interesting things that happen there. But one of the examples that I saw there was of someone who did or used the AI Drake and the AI Rihanna. So there are all these AIs that have emerged of different musicians and artists and entertainers. And so this user puts an AI Drake and an AI Rihanna into this song Double Double, which is a Nigerian gospel song, and has them both singing this song. And it's like, my God is good, oh. And many people on the continent would know this song. But it was so interesting to see someone reimagining these international artists singing a very African local song. And again, that speaks to how people, I suppose, are using these tools and platforms to feel included and represented, to insert their own culture and cultural references into spaces that they might not normally be included in much the same way that the African aunties are ululating after Meghan and Harry come out of the church. And so I think there's something that we might not be talking about so much around this AI revolution and the space we're in, and that's the more social and cultural components of it, where people are now starting to feel included in conversations that they normally weren't included in. And what that then means when we think about all the broader conversations about where AI is taking us, it is problematic in many ways, but I think it can be generative in many other ways. And there is room and scope for us to have that conversation in a little bit more detail, or think a little bit more about it. I look at this broader topic under the umbrella of something I call African digital cosmopolitanism. I know it's a very big term, but essentially what I try to address is how there is this challenge by Africans of the idea that information and communication only flow from the West to the rest of the world. We see a lot of different examples of how communication and information flows the other way around. Information does flow from Africa to the rest of the world. And so these are some of those examples that get us thinking a little bit more about that, how we challenge the idea of just being passive consumers of information and insert ourselves, and then also become active in conversations that normally wouldn't include us as Africans. So this is my offering for this Africa Day. I hope that you have a great Africa Day holiday and that you celebrate this beautiful continent and all the things that it gives us and offers us in terms of language and culture and experiences and knowledge. And as always, you can find us if you have any thoughts about this episode. We are on Twitter. You can find us at Native Podcast. You can also find us on Facebook. The Facebook page is the Digitally Native Podcast with Fungai Machirori. You can also find us at the same name on LinkedIn. Or else you can visit us, our website actually, www.digitallynativepodcast.com. Or else you can send us an email at info@digitallynativepodcast.com. I really hope this has got you thinking a little bit. And I hope that if you have any other examples of this, you would share them with us. We're always keen to learn and to share and to think through different themes around the digital space on the African continent. Take care, and until next time, be well.